Today, we're going to continue our discussion on ratios of your body. So, there are different ratios that each different person has, and the ratios that your body has are different than anybody else's. So, it's important that you know how your ratios are so that you know the things that you need to avoid and the things you need to be careful with and the things that you can do. So take a stick or a measuring tape, and I want you to give me the distance of your hips. So I'm going to do a crude little measure with my stick. So this is the distance of one hip of mine to another, from here to here. If I take that distance and I measure from the top of where my knee is, right there where the patella is, just slightly under the patella, so I'm in the middle of the kneecap, and I measure to the top of the hip, you will see that my leg bone is just a little bit longer than the width of my hips. And I'm talking bone to bone. I'm not talking about whether you're a little wider or you're more narrow with fat. Just get bone to bone. So my measurement from here to here is just a little bit longer my leg. So what kind of a ratio does that create for me? That creates what we call a near 50-50 ratio, that the length of my leg, my femur bone, is a little bit longer than the width of my hips. So that gives me more stability and more power. So you could say I'm like a workhorse. I'm built to haul things and lift things because I have this stability. Wait, if you take that same measurement now of from the knee to the top of the hip. So let's say from my knee, the middle of my knee, to the top of my hip where the bone is, this is my length. So now if I go back to the middle of the knee and go back to the ankle, you will see that from the bend of the knee to the ankle to the bend of the knee to the top of the hip, I'm almost the same length. The bottom, the calf shin area, is just a little bit less long than the top. The top is just a little bit longer than the hips. So my ratios are very close together so that I'm super built for power. Of course, in a mini skirt, I look short and squatty. That's just life. So I wear the heels to make me look longer. But for you, if you measure the distance from bone to bone and you see, for instance, that you have a beautiful gazelle body, that your thigh bone is much longer. Let's say if I was, just give you a number, I don't know what it is. Let's just say that I'm 30 inches from here to here. From here to the middle of my patella, let's just say I'm 32, 33, 34 inches. It's super close. But if the number is, let's say I have 40 inches here and I have 30 inches here, then that's a 10% difference. So the longer the leg bone on the top in relation to the width of the hips, then there are certain things that you have to be a little bit more cautious of. If you take the measurement of the top of the leg, the femur bone, and then measure it against the bottom, you're going to see there are many people that have a very long top bone, a more narrow hip bone, and a less long shin or tibia bone. And so these are people that have to have more care for their low backs and for their knees, because it's a long ratio for this small amount of abdominal and lumbar area to have to bear on that spine. So if you happen to have a longer femur, you have to really pay attention to do a lot of core strengthening exercises, which we do in every class, and you're in the right place. But it's something that has to be lifelong. If you start to have knee issues, you can really trace that cause back to something that's going on in this area here, that this area here is being overwhelmed by the gazelleness of your legs. So you're people that have to make sure that if you wear heels, that you have a good arch support in your heel. We all need to strengthen our feet, but you have to pay special attention to do the toe pets that we did a couple months ago, that we talked about, that where you bend the toes as if you put a piece of paper on the floor and try to curl that piece of paper up. Even when you're just hanging out at the desk, kick off your shoe, roll a bottle underneath your feet. The calf raises, all the footwork that we do, gripping the bar with the toes, is all good for all of us. And it doesn't matter what your ratios are. Everyone needs strong feet. And all of these things that I'm talking about, we do them in class. So if you're getting your layers of Pilates in, you've got the bases covered. But I want you to understand, sometimes someone that's smaller like me will be able to pull spring. Don't be impressed by that. It's just that I have ratios that are really built for power and for strength. And I've worked very hard to taper my legs, to taper my waist, to taper my arms, to keep my neck long so that I don't look squatty. Most people are surprised when they meet me that I'm 5 feet tall. And when they see me without shoes, they're taken aback, because when I put on a little bit of heel, I've tricked out my body that I look taller than I am. And so that's the effect of Pilates. It pulls in the waist, it really sculpts you, and it will make you look as best as you can, whatever your ratios are. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you real soon for another layer of real Pilates.